Hi, and welcome back to the second hour of Focal Point on AFR Talk, this Tuesday edition of Focal Point. Got a lot we want to get to in this hour, so let's just jump right into it. We're coming up against the debt ceiling, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hit that puppy on February 15. That thing is coming at us like a freight train. It's going to be here quicker than anybody thought. People were trying to guesstimate and think we had till March 1. We don't. We have until February 15, and then it hits. And the government, starting on February 15, if the debt ceiling is not lifted, then starting on that day, the government cannot spend any money that doesn't come in. Now, this is the striking thing to me. I got some sound bites I want to play on this. But here's the thing I want you to catch. Now you've probably heard about these Democrats that say, hey, we want the Treasury just to print or mint $1 trillion platinum coin. Just coin one coin and put worth $1 trillion on it and stick it in the Treasury. And that's good. We got $1 trillion we didn't have 5 minutes ago. Now that is just, it's worthless. It increases the debt because that's got to be paid back at some point, and it increases inflation. It's a horrible idea. Now the Treasury can do it. They cannot do it without authorization from Congress, because Congress is in control of the printing of money. That's up to them. They're in charge of that. So nobody's got the right to do that if Congress doesn't authorize them to do it. That's right there in Article 1, Section 8. You know, and a guy on our American Family Association blog today had a great point. If Obama can just create $1 trillion coin, then why do we need to pay taxes at all? When our taxes come due, we just go to Barack Obama and say, hey, crank out another one of those $1 trillion platinum coins, and case is closed. It's done. Our taxes are paid. Why do we even need to pay taxes if he can just mint these coins anytime that he wants to? Why even bother to pay taxes? I think that is an absolutely fabulous suggestion. Now, here is the deal. Here's an interview with somebody from Goldman Sachs, a guy by the name of Alec Phillips, on the debt limit. And remember, we want a balanced budget, right? So he's asked, this Alec Phillips from Goldman Sachs has asked this question: what happens if Congress does not raise the debt limit by the deadline? So February 15 comes. I mean, that's not long away. That's a little over a month away. It's coming down the tracks. What happens if Congress does not raise the debt limit by the deadline? Here's the answer. The Treasury would need to immediately reduce outlays to equal income. I repeat, this is Goldman Sachs. If Congress does not raise the debt limit, guy from Goldman Sachs, I've been saying this for years, but here's a guy from Goldman Sachs saying it. What happens? The Treasury would need to immediately reduce outlays to equal income. Do I need to repeat that one more time? What that means, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what I've been telling you. If Congress does not raise the debt ceiling, we have a balanced budget by the close of business that day. You want a balanced budget? We can have it on February 15. It is within our grasp. All we need is enough Republicans in Congress that have the moxie, that have the spine, that have the testosterone to say, look, we're not going to raise the debt ceiling. Even President Obama keeps talking about how we have to live within our means. Here is the day to take it seriously. And people say, well, that's going to involve a lot of difficult decisions. Fine. We're paying these people $174,000 a year. About time for them to earn their money. Go out and make those tough decisions. I got no sympathy for you. You're the one that racked up this debt. I got no sympathy for you complaining about how hard it is and how difficult it is and how many tough choices we have. I got no sympathy for you whatsoever. We're paying you $174,000 a year, 193 some if you're in the Senate. So earn your money for a change and make some of those tough decisions. Now, here is Barack Obama, clip number 2. And this goes back to his address from Saturday. And he's saying, look, I am flatly not going to compromise on raising the debt ceiling. Let's listen.
But spending cuts must be balanced with more reforms to our tax code. The wealthiest individuals and the biggest corporations shouldn't be able to take advantage of loopholes and deductions that aren't available to most Americans. And as I said earlier this week, one thing I will not compromise over is whether or not Congress should pay the tab for a bill they've already racked up. If Congress refuses to give the United States the ability to pay its bills on time, the consequences for the entire global economy could be catastrophic. The last time Congress threatened this course of action, our entire economy suffered for it. Our families and our businesses cannot afford that dangerous game again.
Number one, he says we've got to do it in a balanced way. Remember, his definition of balance is $1 in spending cuts for every $41 in tax hikes. That's his definition of balance. Number two, this makes it very clear that this fiscal cliff thing, he was just getting started on the upper income earners. He was just getting started on raising taxes on job creators. Now we've raised their tax rates. He wanted to do that because he wanted everybody to see that he was punishing them. He was out to punish them, and the only way to make sure that everybody saw that was to increase their actual rate. So there's a number there. People can say, yeah, he stuck it to the man. He went from 35% to 39.6%. He stuck it to the job creators. And Barack Obama says he wanted to do that so we could all see it, but he's not done. He says now we got to go back to the same people, and we've got to cap deductions. We've got to close what he calls loopholes. Loopholes are just deductions that have been authorized by Congress. And then he says, look, Congress has got to pay for the debt they racked up. And this is just absurd to me, and it infuriates me, because every single dollar of spending that was done under Obama's administration, he signed off on it. He can't blame Congress for that. He signed every continuing resolution. He agreed to it. He could have vetoed it. He could have sent it back. Look, you're spending money we don't have. He didn't do it. He's up to his earlobes in responsibility for the increase in the debt ceiling. Now, here is Jay Carney, clip number 3. He's responding to Mitch McConnell. Remember, Mitch McConnell said yesterday, tax cuts, we're done with that, or tax hikes, we're done with that. We're finished with that. No more on that. Now all we're going to talk about is spending reductions. Jay Carney says, whoa, not so fast, bub.
But one of the things you heard the President of the United States say on New Year's Day, when this fiscal cliff challenge was resolved, is that the agreement enshrined the principle that we must have balance as we move forward in our deficit reduction. In the spending cuts that were part of the fiscal cliff deal, they were paid for in a balanced way with both, the buy down of the sequester was paid for in a balanced way with both roughly 50% spending cuts and 50% revenue. And that is an approach the President, balance anyway, is an approach the President believes is very important to continue. And, when members of Congress suggest that revenues are now somehow not part of the equation, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because as I stood here and discussed with you the various proposals going back and forth during the fiscal cliff negotiations, when the President was seeking in negotiations with Speaker Boehner a big deal, one that would address our long-term fiscal challenges through broader deficit reduction, the Speaker put on the table what he claimed was an $800 billion revenue proposal made up entirely of the closure of loopholes and the capping of deductions, tax reform. Now, either that was good policy that they no longer support, or Republicans also believe, as the President does, that through tax reform we can achieve an improved...
Let's go ahead and come out of that clip, Rob. Why don't we just cut it right there? Because here's what Carney's doing, is saying, look, the Republicans that say that revenues are somehow not part of the equation, it doesn't make a lot of sense. He says revenues are on the table. Nancy Pelosi said the same thing yesterday, and now they're using Boehner's Plan B against him. Hey, and this is why that was such a disaster to begin with. Speaker Boehner comes, I'm glad to put $800 billion in revenue on the table by capping deductions and closing loopholes. And so now they're coming back on Boehner and say, well, if it was a good idea, why isn't it a good idea now? Well, because you just raised taxes to 39.5%. Back in 2.